So today is going to be part 2 of my spicing up your lead guitar video. Part 1 seems to be pretty popular and I'm excited about that, but the content was getting long. I have a lot to share, so I was trying to be cognizant of time. So I kept filming, but I just split the video into 2 parts, and I'm just giving you this introduction now. But in this part 2, what I'm going to discuss is how to implement half-whole diminished scales and explore the Lydian dominant mode, and do that in ways that will spice up your blues playing. So, and add interest, make it sound a little jazzy, give you an outside sound, give you some tension, make it sound interesting, but then bring it back. So where the video is going to pick up is where I am demonstrating how to be cognizant of playing with tension, and I'm going to show you what I think is a wrong way, where you start off playing inside the box and then you add that tension only at the end of your phrase, and it kind of leaves you hanging. So that's where this is going to pick up. If you like the content of this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Without further ado, let's get into this. Okay, I'm going to try things again where I'm going to play in the box and then I'm going to land us on some dissonance, okay? Sounds like crap, doesn't it? So you have to learn how to play with the dissonance and consonants. More than you're learning how to play the notes of the scale or playing the guitar. You're playing with, it's more of an abstract concept instead. It's kind of like what we do when we learn to speak, and we learn when we ask a question, that we raise our voice so that it hangs, and then the answer we learn should land the plane. That's what you have to learn to do with your playing, even if you're not playing blues or jazz. If it's just, if it's no matter what style, you have to learn to be able to be a master with the tension and release. And that is an art more than it is a science. But the sooner you're aware of this, I think the quicker you can be on the right track to be a good musician and a good improviser. I know at one time I used to teach or think of improvisation as kind of anything, especially within jazz, as an anything goes deal. As long as you knew the rules of music, you can take any note of the scales and you can kind of play them randomly as long as they fit under the underlying chord progression in the key. And that's not complete, because you have to be aware of tension and release. So that's what we're really talking about here. So you can play around with just all of the sharps and flats in the key, and play around with the sharps and flats and adding them in to the key of A minor, that A minor scale. We might be in A major chord progression, as I said. And that's a great way. You're finding those notes in the cracks and you're playing around with adding them in, and the key is to make sure that when you land things, and that you make sure you do land things, that you just land in the scale in the key, right? First, even if I'm outside, let me find some other examples. So that's the idea, all right? The next thing I want to share on this subject is there is this really cool mode that I find helps when I'm playing more, trying to add jazz into blues contexts, because blues tends to be dominant 7th oriented, dominant 9th, etc. The mode is a mode of the melodic minor. Now, I'm going to have to do a separate video sometime on the melodic minor and getting into the modes. So this is a preview snapshot excerpt of that. But the mode that I want to introduce is the Lydian dominant. It's the fourth mode of the melodic minor scale. It's like a minor scale with a sharp 4 and a flat 7. And if I was to play the A Lydian dominant scale, I'll just play it across 2 octaves. It'll sound like this. So what you want to learn to do is step 1 is to get really comfortable with the melodic minor scale. And then step 2, start getting comfortable with the modes of the melodic minor. And if you only get to where I'm at right now in this video, the first mode I would focus on is that Lydian dominant. There's a lot of other great modes I use in that, by the way. That Lydian flat 6 I covered in one of my other videos on number system and exceptions to it. I use that one a lot. Lydian augmented is good over major chord progressions, and of course the superlocrian, otherwise known as the altered scale, it's the 7th mode of the melodic minor. So there's a lot of gold in the modes of the melodic minor scale. But today, Lydian dominant, I might play a straight pentatonic thing. I'll keep it simple. And here comes the melodic, or the Lydian dominant. Added some chromaticism in there to get myself back to landing. Okay, we do it again. Pentatonic, Lydian dominant, back to pentatonic. When I was doing the flat 3 to the minor third to the major third. Here's Lydian dominant. You can hear that. It sounds like you want to go to the 4 chord, right? But the idea is that you want to be able to take your A minor or any key and play it all over the fretboard. And let's say I was up at the 12th fret playing A minor. Picturing an A minor shape, pentatonic. And anytime I want to switch to Lydian dominant, and I can back to pentatonic. Here's the Lydian dominant. Back, I landed the plane. Hear how I landed? That's the key. These modes and these little tricks, adding outside notes, they give you tension, and it's brilliant to have it, but you don't want to stay there usually. You want to land it, and that gives us that sense of release, and that's what speaks to people, okay? It's what makes it really expressive. By the way, you also saw me just kind of repeating notes and hanging out and trying to play dynamically. Even playing around with the tempo and the timing. It's really more of a timing thing if you had a click or drums going on. All this is A minor pentatonic. But I also picture, when I picture that A minor or A Lydian dominant, I'm picturing an E melodic minor at the 12th position. It helps me because it's a mode, right? So I got to picture both in the same zone of the fretboard. And that takes a lot of time. You really want to get to the point with any scale where you can picture things in your mind's eye on the fretboard and not have to rely only on your ears, okay? So that's what you're learning to do. I'm learning to scales in two different shapes and putting them in the same zone. And that's a lot. It can be overwhelming at first. Like back to the 5th position, A minor pentatonic. I know right away if I want to go into the Lydian dominant that on this 5th position, especially at the first string, I have this really, for some reason it's really cemented in my mind as one anchor point in my mind, is that's the, I picture that as like the 4th note of the E melodic minor. That'd be the 4th note, okay? If I had, let's see. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? See, I knew it before I even counted it to check it, right? So it's a different shape. So there's two shapes. One shape for the pentatonic, the other shape for the Lydian dominant that I'm projecting my mind over in that same zone. And I should be able to flip pretty seamlessly, okay? And I'm still working to get it more seamless. So you can hear that melodic minor has a lot of potential just to add color. The last thing I want to show you now is related, in my mind it's related to the Lydian dominant because it has a similar sound. If you analyze it, there's like a 2-note difference. One of the notes that's different is because this is an 8-note scale instead of a 7-note scale. But what I want to show you is how you can use a whole half diminished over the same thing. So I'm in the key of A, right? Still a key of A. So whole half would be, and now I resolve it to that major third as I'm thinking blues. Which remember, technically we're thinking A minor, pentatonic, but we are comfortable, this is after we get comfortable adding that major third in there, okay? So, but I started it with that color, that tension of the whole half diminished scale. As I got to the end, that's your typical blues cliche, if you will, right? So this weaves in similar to the melodic minor. Let me break it down a little bit. It's a diminished scale, and so the whole half, or the half whole diminished scale would be see, I can start thinking pentatonic. And I like to play around with the notes. I don't want to play them straight in order like that, like you just heard me do. And I just kind of weave these in and out. There's a lot of different shapes of this. I'm going to let you look the shapes up yourself online. I'm playing 3 notes per string shapes. And there's only, and if you play them all 3 notes a string, there's kind of like 2 variations you can play in my mind. And there's the one I like is keeps you on the same 5th position for the first 4 strings. And just flips between this and this for those 4 strings. Alternates. And then you shift. Okay, and there's several ways I could have done that bottom part, but that's what I've been doing a lot, and I've been kind of living there. And then, you know, these shapes, the diminished, you can take things and move them in 4-fret intervals. These are called minor thirds. Because the secret to diminished, and I want to do a separate video getting deeper into diminished, and I'm not going to elaborate too much today, is that everything can be moved in 4-fret intervals, and it's the same, okay? Here's the same. Here it is again, 4 frets from that. Again, I keep resolving it back to pentatonic, right? So I can mix these in and out with the pentatonic like I did with the Lydian dominant. I can throw the Lydian dominant in as well, and it's going to sound similar to the Lydian dominant, but it's not the same, okay? So I hope you can see that these things they add color to your blues playing, and they make it less predictable. Just when your ear thinks it's in familiar territory, your ear gets stretched, and if you do it right, it gives you a tension, but then you land it and it releases and it feels like an ah. So to me, it makes the music more interesting. It's not something you're limited to doing within blues necessarily. Depends on your genre, depends on other factors, but I could technically be trying to throw some of this stuff in more melodic, major scale stuff. Potentially. I'm not inclined to do this when I play in the church because it probably is not going to work there, except in very, very, very tiny doses, if at all. So, but depending on your genre, but it just makes things more interesting. So I hope you got something out of this. If you like the content, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time.